Welcome to The World Awaits.
Travel tales to inspire your wanderlust.
I'm Kirsty Bedford, journalist, editor and travel writer.
And I'm Belinda Jackson, author, travel journalist and columnist, and we're your weekly co-hosts.
Welcome back to The World Awaits. How are you all?
Hi everyone, Kung Hei Fat Choi. Happy Lunar New Year. If your Cantonese is a little bit dusty, welcome to the Year of the Snake. This episode is sponsored by our friends at Explore Worldwide, which offers small group adventures around the world. But before we get into our interview, which is with one of its leading tour leaders, how's your week been, Kirsty?
My week has been great. I had the privilege of jumping aboard Regent's ship Seven Seas Explorer for a little sneak peek while it was in Port Melbourne. I've read and written a lot about these luxury cruise lines, as we both have in our lines of work, but to actually get on board and see it, it's just such an eye-opener. It's like stepping through the doors of a five-star hotel. So the ship's actually 9 years old, but you wouldn't know it. Like, everything in it is just beautifully done. Nothing is left to chance in this ship. Every tiny little detail is just absolutely spectacular. It was about 570 million Australian dollars to build it. So no wonder. But inside there's like crystal chandeliers at every turn. And on this ship, there is a 2,000 piece art collection worth $8 million, including some Picasso pieces. How exceptional is that? I know, remarkable, right? And the ship is actually all-inclusive, so that means that you can just wine and dine until your heart's content. So the reason that's so special is that on a lot of cruise ships you go on, you get on board and you soon realise that you are actually how much you've paid to stay is only included the buffet restaurant. You're battling it out with all of the other hundreds or thousands of people on board. But on these ships, you actually have access to the specialty restaurants. So a lot of other ships have specialty restaurants, but you have to pay like an arm and a leg to go. And so it's like paying for a fine dining experience. And so no one really does it. But on these ships, it's all inclusive. So you literally just nominate the restaurant that you want to dine at. And we dined at Pacific Rim, which is Pan-Asian food, which is basically a meld of lots of foods from the Asia region. And it was just, oh my God, it was so delicious. And when we were there, actually one of the guests just came up to us. He must have heard us talking and realised we were Gypsies. And he came up to us and he said, and he was in a wheelchair, and he said, I just want to let you know how easy it is to get around on the wheelchair and how there are no problems in my cabin. And I just thought it was important to pass that on. And I thought that was so nice and such a lovely recommendation for this really important aspect of obviously ensuring accessibility, which is something that we need to look at more in the industries. So that was basically what I was doing. What about you, Belle?
So it wasn't a scripted thing, the guest turning up in the wheelchair.
Did he? No, he just overheard us and he just came over and said, hey, just wanted to let you know. And how fantastic was that?
Yeah, and because it is so important, like we're both mostly able-bodied and you really do take it for granted that you can access anywhere when you travel. So that's really, that is pretty amazing. I haven't sailed with Regent. Probably my most memorable was a very swanky Silver Seas cruise from Darwin to Hong Kong. I did it with my mum years ago and it was quite funny. I couldn't find her, and then I found her in this very quiet little corner having a glass of champagne, and I've got to say, it was before midday. And she said to me, oh, I'm sorry, darling, I know you're working, but I was just trying to get a glass of water. It's so funny. And that was all.
They're like mother, like daughter, hey?
Oh, and I've cruised down to Antarctica, which was a completely different beast. I waver with cruise ships. 1 minute I think I could live out my life on one, and the next I think, oh, I need to run immediately as soon as it gets to port. I don't know, maybe I just embody cabin fever. But I do the sound of this very glamorous 5-star hotel. That sounds pretty fantastic. What do we got coming up this week, Kirsty?
Airline safety and product rating website airlineratings.com has just announced the safest airlines in the world for 2025. So we thought this was something that was important to bring to you all. Really interesting, actually. And it covers everything. So the actual ratings cover everything from the age of the planes to the skill of the pilots and if they've been involved in plane crashes. So obviously that's to help us all decide which airline we want to fly with or don't want to fly with. And almost 400 airlines are monitored, and the results are split between what they call full-service airlines and low-cost airlines.
Yeah, and the winning full-service airline, the best, safest airline in the world, went to, drum roll please, Brrr, Air New Zealand. Whoa! Followed by Qantas. So it's a double header for us in this part of the world, which is fantastic. So airlineratings.com CEO Sharon Peterson says it was extremely close between Air New Zealand and Qantas for first place, with only 1.5 points separating the airlines. But the clincher was, she said, that Air New Zealand continues to have a younger fleet than Qantas, and that was the deciding factor for the win.
Yeah, amazing. Love flying in New Zealand. It's always my choice when I go back to the homeland, but not that there are actually that many choices.
Oh, can I just say, did you see the news the other day that Solomon Airlines has just started a new route from Brisbane to Auckland? So it's going to be running every Friday from the 21st of February. I know it doesn't help you in Melbourne, but good news for all of those Brizzy-based Kiwis.
Yes, and there are many Brizzy-based Kiwis. So back to the survey. And third place was a three-way affair with Cathay Pacific, Qatar and Emirates. And Peterson says that's because their scores were identical, from the fleet age to the pilot skill, safety practices, the fleet size and the number of incidents.
And in fourth and fifth place were Virgin and Etihad, followed by ANA, Eva Air, Korean Air, Alaskan, and Turkish Airlines to round out the top 10. Look, I'm a huge fan of Cathay. Their food is phenomenal. That's not going to stop them from falling out of the sky. But the same for Turkish Airlines, which is a great carrier with some amazing destinations. And the food has always been phenomenal. Did I ever tell you that Kevin Costner used to do ads for them back in the day when they weren't that popular? You know how the Hollywood stars would nick off to little-known destinations and earn a pot of money? Yeah, so that's there you go. There's your hot tip for it, but it does have great food. And of course, the three big Middle Eastern carriers, Emirates, Etihad, and Qatar, are consistently good performers.
Mm. On to the low-cost airlines, and compared to last year's list, there have been significant changes, with Hong Kong Express claiming the top spot. The airline took the top gong because it hasn't had any serious incidences, and it maintains what the report says is a relatively flawless safety record. It's a bit of a worry, isn't it? Relatively flawless. And new additions to the list include Tokyo Zip Air, British carrier Jet2 and Air Baltic. A notable omission this year is Spirit Airlines, which is a US airline which filed for bankruptcy in November, hence it's not included.
Oh gosh. And I tell you, if you search for them on Instagram, there is so much baiting about Spirit. But hot on the heels of Hong Kong Express as the safest low-cost airline was our very own Jetstar, followed by Ryanair, the Irish-based carrier, EasyJet, and America's Frontier Airlines. In sixth place was Air Asia, followed by the Hungarian ultra-low-cost airline Wizz Air, and then Vietjet Air, which flies into Australia, Southwest Airlines, and the Mexican airline Volaris, which rounds out the top 10. So I've flown a few of these airlines recently, Ryanair back in Ireland and Vietjet in Vietnam. And yeah, Vietjet was great, actually. My hot tip on Vietjet is follow them because they have incredible deals that they're announcing to their followers on social media. Wizz Air is interesting. It's really growing around Europe. It actually has a hub in Vienna. So I think that's one to watch. And if you're doing searches for intra-Europe, then they're definitely going to show up. So it's good to know that they're on this safety list. So feel free to drop us a line. Let us know what you think of these airlines. We'd love to hear. Just email us at hello@theworldawaits.au and we will put the full list in the show notes.
This episode is sponsored by Explore Worldwide, which offers small group adventures with local tour leaders. This week, we're taking you to Costa Rica with naturalist tour guide Juan Carlos Rodriguez, who has more than 3 decades of experience guiding travellers through the Central American country's remarkable landscape. He's passionate about sustainability of his nature-rich country, which is now looking at a new concept to preserve the ocean too. And you might just be surprised where his recommendation is for the best sunset. Welcome to the show, Juan.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
It's so great to have you on The World Awaits. Let's start by tell us a bit about your background and how you came to get into the travel industry.
Wow, it's a very interesting history. When I'm starting this, I was not ready for working in tourism. I was supposed to work in the biologist, and the idea was to start working as a scientist. But then at the end of this, somebody comes near to me and tell me that I can do a good job if I was a tour leader, was a tour guide. And I try. I tried the very first time around the 1989, early 90s, and I like it. I'm just falling in love with this, and that is what I'm doing since the moment that I just start talking with the people. I discovered that was a very interesting way to share nature and people and build bridges in between.
Amazing. And you've focused, haven't you, on being a naturalist story leader? Tell us a little bit about what that means.
When you live in a country like Costa Rica, when you are surrounded by all this nature, when you already know that you have practically 5% of the biodiversity of the world, there is practically no other way to become a naturalist. This everything is inviting you to discover, to understand, and share. The most important thing is to share with the people around this nature. When you're living in a country like this, it's so easy to fall in love with the nature.
Explain to us what some of that nature is. What is it that makes it so unique and a place that Australians should visit when they're looking to immerse themselves in nature? What is it about Costa Rica that makes it so special?
Hey, there are so many different things. Australia is a large continent. It's a country, and at the same time, it's a continent. Costa Rica is just a very small country in Central America that was lifted just 3,500,000 years ago. Costa Rica is special for the location that we are. We are just 10 degrees north from the equator. And we are very lucky, or more than lucky, we are being blessed because in our location, we can share with the people so many different kind of weathers. We have the Caribbean Sea and we have the Pacific Ocean on the other end in the west. And we can share a kind of amount of different environments. For example, when you are in the Caribbean lowlands, you are going to be in the extremely rainforest, where you can get around 6 meters to 7 meters of rain a year, which is around the 6,000 millimeters of rain a year. That is a lot. But then, when the condensation happens, the winds blows again, and all that moisture is going to be inside the tropical rainforest, which is the area of this near to the mountains. The tropical rainforest will have 4 meters of rain a year, so it's just like a 2 meters less than rain. But then suddenly the wind blows again, and we're gonna get the area of the continental divide, where it's gonna be the area of the tropical cloud forest. 3 environments only on the Caribbean side. But you already got the tropical cloud forest, you pass through, and you're gonna get the area of the Pacific side, where you're gonna be in an area that is beautiful, called Rich area. The shadow area is the place where we have the coffee farms and the dairy farms and all these kind of beautiful things that are happening, changing completely the temperature. For example, if you are in the Caribbean lowlands at the afternoon, you will be around 30 grades centigrade. The same day, in the area of Monteverde, you can be at 18 grades centigrade. So the temperature changed dramatically from one place to another. Then after the rain shadow area, you're going to get an area that is called the transition forest. The transition forest is divided in 3 different levels. It's going to be the tropical dry forest, where we're going to have only 2 meters of rain a year, or the central Pacific area, where you're going to have the 4 meters of rain a year, or when you go to the South Pacific of Costa Rica and the area of the peninsula of Corcovado, or the peninsula de Osa, where you're going to have 8 meters of rain a year. In just 51,100 square kilometers country. It's different. So the environment, the kind of animals, the kind of plants, the kind of flowers, the kind of air that we can breathe here in one single day will be completely different. We are just 250 kilometers wide. So you can have a sunrise on the Pacific, on the Caribbean side, or You can drive to San Jose, have lunch in San Jose the same day, and the same day you can have a sunset in the Pacific side in one day,
And
passing through all these better the ways.
yes, and like you say, the flora and the fauna is so different and so dramatic. And so that's what I guess encourages travelers to come. So let's explain a little bit of that. What is some of the wildlife that is so diverse in those areas?
That is something that is very interesting. Costa Rica is that kind of country that if you are a bird watcher, for example, I know that people in Australia loves bird watching, and the people there are coming here. I was with a couple from Australia. In one holidays that they have here, they got 350 different species in one single trip in just 12 days traveling around Costa Rica. Costa Rica has around 950 different species of birds. So it's more than US and Canada together in just 51,100 square kilometers. If you are interested in another kind of things, for example, in flora, we have 400 kind of ferns, 4,000 kind of orchids, more than 2,000 kind of trees, with different blossoms, different fruits, and all these kind of things. We got all these kind of insects, and around the world, we have 400,000 different species of beetles. So in Costa Rica, if we have 5% of the biodiversity of the world, it's going to be a huge amount of beetles. If you are an entomologist, you will love to come here and you can see all that amazing things. But if you are interested in snakes or if you are interested in reptiles, you can find in Costa Rica around 134 different species of snakes, 22 of them vipers, 2 of them coral snake and the sea snake. That they are just a passion for these people that like this kind of species. But if you like monkeys, you will find monkeys. If you like this armadillos, you can find armadillos. If you like, for example, sloths, we have 2 species of sloths in Costa Rica, the Coleopes hoffmanni and the Bradypus variegatus, which is the 3 fingers and 2 fingers sloths. So really, it's a kind of place that more like a holidays place. It's a kind of laboratory. We come here as a child in the school and discover all these beautiful things just outside of your window.
When you take travelers through these forests, what are some of the things that you love to see or never tire of, given you're doing it day in and day out?
I'm a bird watcher. So I have to say that one of my passions is to see the birds. So when you are in the different areas, how I said before, we have about 950 different species. And every day we're going to have something new to share. Egrets, herons, all different kind of species that are always flying around. The only problem that we have with them is that they have wings. We have to be always ready to capture the picture or wait for the moment that they are making the digestion and we can take a very good picture with the telescope and the camera. But birds is probably one of my passions. Anyway, it's so lovely to see the sloths too when they are coming without acidity and this lovely way and just having fun with the life upside down.
Costa Rica does a really good job in regards to sustainability, obviously, and the environmental concerns around these animals, doesn't it, as well? So when you see those sloths and obviously in the natural environment, what's the sort of work that's being done to ensure the sustainability and that the tourists don't impact those?
That's a beautiful question because Costa Rica, even than today, we are the most greenest countries in the world. Costa Rica was not always like that. Costa Rica for the 80s, 1986, we were in a real problem because only 25% of the Costa Rican territory has a forestal coverage here. But after 1986, when the Costa Rican the government just wake up and they discovered that we were in troubles, is when we start working hardly in the reforestation of the country. Today, we are working with the government, with the private resources, hotels, and many other people. And in this moment, we have practically 58% of the Costa Rican territory with the forestal coverage. So we create or we make a reforestation, and we got a lot of biological corridors that are working together. Every single place along the river, around Costa Rica, is protected areas. Every place around the beach, there are no private beaches in Costa Rica. All of them are public, and they are has a protection. Every water mirror in Costa Rica, when I say water mirror, I am talking about the lakes or the lagoons or this kind of swamps or places like that, are already protected by the Ramsar deal. Ramsar is a kind of idea that once in Iraq many years ago, with the idea to protect all these kind of humidals, places where the swamps and the rivers and all these kind of places are together. We are working with them, and the government has a huge deal with that. In this moment, Costa Rica is one of those countries that has practically 96% of the electricity from renewable resources. 80% comes from hydroelectrical plants. The other 20% is divided, and I like to divide it in fives. It's not exactly, but with the idea that the people can understand how that works, I would say that the people has 5% of geothermal energy that comes from the volcanoes. A country like Costa Rica has only 112 volcanoes. So we got a lot of places where we can get this amazing way. We have the windmills that is working really hard in the majority of the highlands and places near to the Arenal Lake, for example. We have the biomass that is working from all this waste and all this kind of things, and the solar panels. Solar panels are especially designed for places like the Aboriginal reserves that we have in Costa Rica. 3.5% of the Costa Ricans are Aboriginals. So many of them are not that kind of people that likes to buy land. So they live in our reserves that are protected by the government too. So they are working together in all these kind of conditions. Costa Rica is working now as a different way because we already think that we were working hardly in the tectonic land, in the 51,100 square kilometers of the tectonic land. Costa Rica has something that is very special and is very interesting. In Australia, you have the largest coral reef along the area. According with Jacques Cousteau, the number one place in the world for diving. In Costa Rica, we have the second best place in the world for diving, which is the Coco Island. It's just 350 nautical miles away from the Pacific side. And that makes that the Pacific Ocean of Costa Rica is 4 times the size of the country. So in this moment, the government is talking about to be more than a tectonic land, a blue country. We are thinking in blue. And that's going to be one of those beautiful things that you're going to hear soon about the Costa Rican conservation. Pacific Ocean, all the Caribbean lands, all the Caribbean Sea, and all these places, the idea is to make them nurseries. The idea is that all the coastline of the Pacific side is going to be a nursery. So we are protecting all these areas and trying to make the fisher people or the industrial fishing people goes away in offshore. In shore, we're going to protect all that area because if we do not have places where the small fishes or the mommy fishes comes and lay the babies, how we are going to make the reforestation of the oceans in the future? So we are working in that way, and the Costa Rican government is working hardly on the way to keep this kind of condition. So you're going to hear very soon about the blue country that Costa Rica wants to be. Not too soon, not too long.
Well, yes, and I can imagine for you, because you're so passionate about this and this is your livelihood, that's really important for future generations and for your descendants.
Exactly. One of the most important things that the Costa Ricans have is that we really believe that we are passing away. We're going to pass. We already have our product. We are already trees in blossom. So we have to leave our seeds on the ground and the way that the new generations can follow up and get and they can get granted a beautiful country where they can live and they can leave something for our grandsons and the great grandsons. So something that they can feel. Because I really believe that my generation already and like the generation before of myself, we make a lot of mistakes. Things that we do not have supposed to do. But in the time that we were growing, we were teaching in that way. For my generation, the water was forever. The trees were forever. The turtles will never be ending because they come in thousands to our Costa Rican beaches. Today, we know that all that kind of things aren't true. In the time that we were growing, we were thinking that the global warming was just a tale. Today, we can see that the global warming is real. If we don't do something to stop or to change this, what is the content that we're going to have for our next generation? Our sons, our great grandsons, what are they going to think about us? That we are going to be just the kind of monster? Or you want to be the savior of their planet? In this moment, we have only planet A. In the future, maybe we'll have the planet D. Let's see what we can do with the Earth. But in this moment, we do not have planet B. We have only the planet A. Costa Rica is trying to teach, is trying to say to everyone, no matter where you go, no matter where you live, plant a tree. Left some seeds for the people, for the next generations. One tree, two trees, four trees is never enough. Just keep growing, make biological corridor. That is the secret of life. If we don't have no trees, we have no water. If we have no water, we have nothing to do. So the secret of this is that we have to think not in ourselves, not how much money I can do, is what I can left for the next generations. Because a planet like the one that we have is just fantastic. No matter if you come from Australia, no matter if you come from the US, from Russia, from Brazil, from Costa Rica, all the countries have something beautiful in it. The most important thing is that we have to learn how to share the beauty, how to save the beauty, and grow together with the passion of this beautiful planet that is called planet Earth, the third one from the sun, the blue planet. It's one of the most beautiful places. So if we don't take care about it, what is our expectations? What is the meaning of a blue planet if we have no water in it? So we have to think about it. And no matter how I said, from which country you are, we are world citizens. If we do not understand that we are world citizens, what are you doing here? Think about it. Think of your grandsons. Think of your boys and the people that you love it. Maybe you are a single people and you have nobody else behind you. What is the problem? Just do something for the next, for your friends, for the relatives. There is always a new generation. Is to make the next generations understand that we understand the mistakes that we were made.
If someone was going to come to visit Costa Rica and they could only spend 4 days in Costa Rica, what should they do to get that best experience, that best of the flora and fauna in Costa Rica?
Okay. I would say that the place that you have to land in is in Liberia at the Guanacaste airport. Guanacaste itself, in 4 days, you will get everything that you will enjoy in Costa Rica. From the mountains to the beach, from the zip lining to the animals, bicycle, horse riding, all these activities can be done in 4 days in Guanacaste. And then you have an international airport right there where you can see probably one of the most beautiful sunsets in the country, the area of Guanacaste.
At the airport?
From the airport and 1 hour away from the beach. Mhm.
Who would expect to see one of the best sunsets at the airport? But there you have it.
When you are in the international airport of Costa Rica in San Jose, the Juan Santa Maria International Airport, if you are in the area, there is a place where you can see an amazing sunset with the plane just driving on the airline piste. for the landing area. At the end, you can see an amazing sunset. It's one of the promises that we can do. If you come to Costa Rica around 5:30, landing around 5:30, you will get one of the most beautiful sunsets in the dry season
Or maybe
from the airport.
it's worth coming just for that.
We're running out of time, but I just want to ask you the question that we ask all of our interviewees, which is, what's the most bizarre thing that's ever happened to you on your travels?
Wow. That is a very interesting question. And I can be speechless with this kind of question because it's so many things that we can share as a kind of rare things. For example, those days that you are just in the area of Corcovado and some of those amazing tapirs comes near to you and they just come with the baby and try to introduce the baby to yourself and you are there outside without cameras, without nothing. And you can feel how the nature will talk with you and you just have the same frequency and you got the same music inside. Nature will come to you. I was there in Corcovado National Park and one of those animals comes very close to me and was just touching my leg with the baby behind when everybody was just telling me that was one of the most dangerous things ever. For myself, that was one of my beautiful blessings that I ever had in the nature. And the one that I can say that is probably the most difficult, understandable, and the harder ones to say is one of my times when I was in the Caribbean Sea, in the Caribbean coast. I was just there at the South Caribbean. I left the people at the hotel because that was a long day trip, like 5 hours driving plus the activities. I just left everything on the hotel and I decided to make a walk along the beach. I was walking along the beach and then not too long, I will say no more than 500 meters away from the hotel, I saw a little cat that jumps from the grass into the beach. I just love it. I say, oh my God, look at that. It's a beautiful ocelot. But something inside tell me, stay still. And I don't know, something was telling me, stay still. Suddenly, that big mama jumps behind me. That was a jaguar, one of the largest jaguar that I ever see in my life. And they just jumped in between myself and the baby. So that was the kind of experience that you just think, I think this is over. Dumb. My underwear were completely lost. I have to tell you that. But the most amazing thing, the most incredible thing is that the mama makes eye contact with myself. I make eye contact with the jaguar. She was looking at me, I will say 80 meters ahead of me, something like that. A bit more probably. I was just so scared to see how much distance was. But I can hear the vibration of the cat. And then the baby jumps into the jungle again. She jumps behind, and nobody can stop me back at the hotel until I get a bar after a shower. So I should say that is probably the worst experience and the most beautiful experience that I ever had.
Amazing. Oh, look, thanks. It's been so great chatting with you about Costa Rica. And yeah, I'm sure everyone listening would now have some great ideas about where to go and what to do, particularly where to fly in to see that amazing sunset.
It was my honor, Kirsty. It was my honor to share with you, to share a little bit about Costa Rica. And I'm here waiting for you at any time with my arms open. And the 5 million people that lives in this country are ready for you. Welcome, Australians. We are very more than glad to receive you here. And we're going to be more than happy to share with you all these amazing things that we have to share.
It was so interesting to hear about Costa Rica's efforts as a blue country. That's one to watch. And that encounter with the jaguar is one of those experiences you will definitely never forget. If you are enjoying this episode, you can experience it for yourself on Explore's Highlights of Costa Rica tour with a local tour leader who will get you off the beaten track to discover the real country. head to exploreworldwide.com.au to find out more.
If you'd like to help support our production costs, you can buy us a coffee at coffee.com/theworldawaits. That's ko-fi.com/theworldawaits, so we can continue to bring you inspirational travel interviews with the world's best.
Our tip this week is from the globe-trotting CNN journalist and news anchor Richard Quest, known for his immersive travel series Quest's World of Wonder. And it focuses on what to do when you're traveling. And this tip is about when you're in a restaurant, or anywhere for that matter, and you're given the option to pay for the bill via multiple currencies.
Yeah, so it's actually called dynamic currency conversion, and it's a payment service that allows you to choose to pay for international purchases in your home currency or the currency where you're located. So, for instance, if you're at, say, dinner in the UK, it'll give you the option to pay for the dinner in either Australian dollars or the UK pound.
And a lot of people pay in their own currency, not the currency of the country that they're in, because they think it'll be more expensive.
However, that isn't what you should do, is it, Belle?
No, it is not. Quest says you should always pay in the local currency. He says you are otherwise basically paying for the right to know how much you are being charged. But if you pay in the local currency, you're always going to be better off.
Yeah, great advice from Richard. And if you want to follow all of his other tips, he's at Questiny. That's Quest INNY on Instagram.
Next week, we're taking you hiking in Peru. My guest is Sydney-based Trade Commissioner and keen walker Sol Campos, and we'll be talking about not just the big draw card, the Inca Trail, but some of the lesser-known hikes and sites in her gorgeous country.
Oh, I can't wait to hear that. I'm dying to get to Peru. And please give us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. Click on our profile, scroll down to the bottom to ratings and reviews. And if you're on Spotify, go to our main page and click the 3 dots under our photo. And you can always just drop us a line. We love hearing from our listeners at hello@theworldawaits.au.
That's a wrap for The World Awaits this week. Click to subscribe anywhere you listen to your favourite pods. And where can people find you, Kirsty?
I'm at Kirsty Wrights on Instagram. That's KIRSTIE Wrights, WRITES. And where can people find you, Belle?
You can find me at globalsalsa.com or on Insta at global_salsa.
Thanks for listening. See you next week.